Things just took another turn for the New York Knicks as we have a huge update in regards to the Knicks head coaching search, specifically to a guy who everybody sort of thought was done, as Leon Rose and William Wesley and the entire Knicks front office are currently conducting interviews with prospective coaches such as Mike Brown and Taylor Jenkins. However, now it is clear that those are just first of the two interviews. There are a lot more that are coming, including guys who everyone said was never going to coach the Knicks, and we are going to break all this down. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Knicks Digest. It's Chris here, and we're going to break down everything here. But first, real quick, guys, if you're subscribed to the channel, thank you so much. And if you're part of that 72% that's not, we got daily videos like this. You want to make sure to subscribe, turn on post notifications. We got a ton of great Knicks content. So then when you're talking with the Knicks with your friends, you can know way more about them, and you can be like, yeah, I'm following Knicks Digest. I know everything that's going on with the Knicks right now. But let's jump into the video. There's a lot to go over with this team. I mean, Leon Rose and William Wesley, as we know, are currently conducting interviews for the next head coach. And the first two interviews that were happening were for Taylor Jenkins, who went first, and Mike Brown, who went second. There's going to be a lot more interviews as well. Now, we all know the story about how the Knicks, they contacted around a bunch of different head coaches or a bunch of different teams in regards to their head coach to see if they could land an interview with them. Now, the Knicks, they were becoming the butts of the jokes because of doing that. It's like, wow, that you're firing Tom Thibodeau and then just asking teams if our head coach can come coach your team instead and not giving us anything in return. But all the Knicks were really doing, more than anything for the most part, was gauging interest in coaches that might want to end up coaching the Knicks instead and be like, hey, well, maybe they just want to coach us and they want to leave you, and we're going to try to see if we can do that, while also gaining the knowledge of what the value of coaches would be, effectively saying, you know what, okay, here's what we know. This coach costs this amount of draft capital. We don't have too much draft capital, so we have to be careful with this. But this coach costs this, and he wants to come here. Is it worth it? So that's what the question has become. And the biggest name around that has obviously been Jason Kidd. Jason Kidd has been linked to the Knicks. The Knicks are known to have interest in him. Jason Kidd came in second for that New York Knicks head coaching job interview first time around. It's also important to note that Taylor Jenkins did not interview for that job, but Mike Brown did. And Mike Brown did a great job, and the Knicks really liked Mike Brown as well, possibly to the point where he was their third favorite. But Kidd was the second after Tom Thibodeau. And what we've seen is that, well, Jason Kidd's not going to go coach the Knicks because he's coaching the Dallas Mavericks. Why would he leave the Mavericks? They're going to get Cooper Flagg. They have Anthony Davis. They'll have Kyrie Irving back in February. Why would that happen? Well, because maybe he just wants to coach the Knicks. The Eastern Conference is easier. It's easier to get the NBA Finals that way. And also, he's left the Mavericks for the Knicks before. Back in 2012, he did it. Signed a 3-year deal with the Knicks. Obviously, only played that 1 year before retiring from basketball entirely, as he was like 40 years old. However, he still has left the Mavericks for the Knicks once before. And Nico Harrison not telling him that he was going to trade Luka Doncic definitely did not help anybody's case. Now, the update that James Edwards gave to us is that the Dallas Mavericks' Jason Kidd and the Chicago Bulls' Billy Donovan are both two that the Knicks might circle back on in the coming weeks. The belief around the league is that Kidd and Donovan are looking for contract extensions from their current franchises, and if those don't materialize, they might be open to joining the Knicks. Now, Begley also mentioned that the door is not completely closed on the Knicks and Jason Kidd, according to people familiar with the dynamic in Dallas. Other outlets reported as recently as last week that Kidd was still a possibility, and that remains the case. Now, we will get into Billy Donovan in a moment, but with Jason Kidd, something like a hair in my mouth, that's disgusting. But with Jason Kidd, it's pretty clear that he at least harbors some level of interest. I'm not saying he wants to coach the Knicks over the Mavericks. No part of me said that. But it's clear that he has some level of interest in, I wonder what they're doing over there. Seems kind of interesting. It's a good team. They got Jalen Brunson. That's my guy. They obviously want Giannis. That's also my guy. Again, Giannis probably isn't getting traded this offseason, but next one. Or perhaps Giannis does request a trade after free agency if he doesn't like what the Bucks did. So it's still possible. But Jason Kidd could easily look at that roster and think, all right, well, I could do something with that. It's in the East. I don't have to worry about Flagg being a little too young and unprepared, which he might not be at all. It's Cooper Flagg. But on top of that, I also have to worry about if Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving can hold up, what the bench can do if Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving go down. Obviously, Kyrie's not going to be here till February with the torn ACL, so we're going to have to wait and see what's going on. If we re-sign Spencer Dinwiddie, can he hold it down? there's a lot of questions surrounding the Mavericks, and there's totally a lot of questions surrounding the Knicks and most teams going into free agency right now. But the Mavericks are one of the least predictable teams right now because they traded away Luka, which is absolutely absurd. And with this team now that's a veteran roster with Cooper Flagg, you do wonder what their next step is. Are they going to move Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving and just commit to a full rebuild around one of the best prospects basketball has seen in a decade or two? Are they going to believe that Flagg can already be the third best player on a championship team, try to get him winning experience instantly, and keep trying to win with Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving? Is that the plan? There's a lot of ways the Dallas Mavericks can go here, and they could quickly turn into a rebuilding team. And another question, does Jason Kidd want to coach a rebuilding team? For the most part, coaches don't like coaching rebuilding teams as much. One, because you have less of a chance to win, but also because if things go wrong, you get fired. So it becomes really difficult, and if Kidd gets fired in a year and the Knicks have a head coach, he's out of luck. And maybe probably end up on the Knicks as an assistant coach or something like that, like what he did with the Lakers. But still, he loses his chance. He's like, well, I screwed up. So there's going to be that thought in his head. And obviously there's a thought, well, what if the Knicks just can't get it together? Tom Thibodeau got fired. What if it's a scapegoat situation, which it wasn't? He lost the locker room, which is really why he got fired. But we've talked about that a million times already. With Jason Kidd, he's clearly got some level of interest in going to the Knicks here. Now with Billy Donovan, you also wonder what's going on. Now, you look at what Joe Cowley, who covers the Bulls, said, according to a source on Wednesday morning, the Bulls were close to finalizing a contract extension for Billy Donovan and had been in discussions with the head coach since the season ended. Why the holdup? A source speculated that it was always going to happen, but Arturas Karnisovas and general manager Mark Eversley needed to be extended first, and now that has likely happened. I don't know why they would send Arturas. He's not done a good job, given it's at the helm of the owner, which is the real issue here, but we all know that if you just know the Bulls at all. But also, Billy Donovan, who you can see pictured here in the Knicks jersey, the only team he played for when he played 44 games in the NBA. Cowley said, what was stressed is the escalation of this deal getting done and had nothing to do with the Knicks asking for permission to speak with Donovan about their coaching vacancy after they parted ways with Tom Thibodeau. Multiple sources indicated that Donovan had no interest in leaving the Bulls, especially for the Knicks position that was under the current regime, and he told his bosses that when New York came calling. On the surface, Donovan, who was born and raised in Long Island, would be a great fit for New York squad that made it to the Eastern Conference Finals before losing to Indiana in 6 games. While the media reports of Tom Thibodeau's dismissal have been inaccurately ranged from his players turning on him to the ownership pulling the plug, those close in the NBA coaching circle know the real story and how much dysfunction was actually behind the firing. Donovan wanted no part of that. Well, first of all, that's incorrect. What Cowley said right there, that's incorrect. That's not true. What happened was the players were brought into an exit interview. Not a casual exit interview that you usually have. Maybe the owner's there, but it's usually just with the team president or whatever. You sit down, you talk about things. A bunch of the Knicks core was in the same interview. James Dolan was there. Leon Rose was there. William Wesley was there. Probably some others were there as well. Tom Thibodeau was not there. The Knicks did not believe in Tom Thibodeau. The only person who still believed in Tibbs at all was Leon Rose. Dolan wanted him gone. William Wesley wanted him gone. Brock Aller wanted him gone. It was just Leon who was like, we'll leave it up to the players at this point because clearly there's a disconnect. I'm still calling the shots here, so we're going to see what goes down. He asked the players, or Dolan asked the players, not clear who asked him, but the players were asked, all right, what do we think of Thibodeau? And a bunch of players said they didn't know their roles. One player, either Mikal or OG, presumably, maybe Towns, but likely one of Mikal or OG, said that they didn't think they could play another season for Tom Thibodeau. Other players said that basically everyone said they didn't know their role on the team. Others said that all of them said they didn't have an undying faith in Tibbs either. That's why he got fired. The players were fine with it. That's what happened. I'm telling you right now, this is what I was told from someone who very much knows what's going on within the Knicks organization. Some people are just not. I know I'm a YouTube channel with 17,000 subscribers, so if you don't want to believe me, I can't change your mind because I'm not going to say who it is because that's not what you do with a source. You don't oust them because then it could get around and then that person could lose their job or something like that. And you don't want to do that to someone. They're the one helping you out. So if you don't want to believe me, that's fine. You don't have to. But I'm telling you, I know for a fact that that is what happened. I've heard it myself from the same person that when I said the Knicks are trading Julius Randle for Karl-Anthony Towns back in September, 3 hours before it happens, you could go find that live stream. Same day Cat got traded. You will hear me mention that Julius Randle is getting traded for Karl-Anthony Towns. I said it there. So, that's all I'm saying. So I'm just saying that is wrong. What Joe Cowley said was wrong. Yes, there was dysfunction in the organization. There's no doubt about it, because there was a split on if Tom Thibodeau should get fired or not. And the ultimate answer was yes, we should move on from Tibbs. The Knicks wanted to move on from Tibbs after Game 3 against the Celtics that they thought was coached very, 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 very poorly. They thought Tibbs mismanaged games. They did not like the lack of the usage of a bench. Even though it wasn't a good bench, they didn't like it. And so Tibbs got fired. And it's honestly fair reasoning to fire Tom Thibodeau. So that is not true. I understand why Billy Donovan would decide, you know what, I don't want to deal with that, but don't rush to think that's what actually happened. It's not. Now, Sports Illustrated mentioned that Dallas has also made a few other coaching moves. NBA insider Mark Stein has reported that the Mavericks have moved video coordinator Max Hooper to become the head coach of the team's G League affiliate, the Texas Legends. The previous coach of the Legends, Jordan Sears, is expected to move back onto the Mavericks bench as an assistant. The move comes on the heels of adding Jay Triano and Mike Penberthy to the coaching staff as well, after they lost a few different guys to other jobs and the legal incident. So basically, a bunch of that stuff went down. Now, you look at these coaches. Billy Donovan has been solid. He hasn't always been gifted the best teams. In 2016, he was with a great team with Kevin Durant. But then after that, it was those Thunder teams that were all right, but not great. And then after that, we saw him go to the Bulls, which for the most part, they weren't good outside of that one stretch they had in 21-22 before Lonzo went down. We've seen that he was a great head coach throughout a very long time, from 1997 or 1996, I should say, to 2013 with Florida. They won an NCAA championship there. Obviously, he was with Al Horford and Joakim Noah in that span as well. And also, we've seen that Jason Kidd has been a pretty decent head coach as well. So these guys do have pedigree. They are solid coaches, don't get me wrong. I don't think either of them fit the team very well. There's a lot of complaints that Billy Donovan is not creative enough on offense, which was a problem with Tibbs. Jason Kidd's a defensive first head coach. The Knicks need an offensive first head coach. So Jason Kidd and Billy Donovan are both looked at as options. I don't think Donovan is really going to be. I think the Bulls are giving him that extension. However, Kidd's still going to be an option, along with Jenkins, along with Brown, along with a bunch of other assistant coaches. Who do you think is going to be the Knicks head coach? Let me know in the comments down below. Like this video, subscribe, turn on post notifications. Have a great day, and go Knicks.